Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. I am thrilled to say we can talk about Bayonetta 3 in the video today. This is a game that I have been looking forward to talking about for quite some time. Anybody who was a fan of the first two Bayonettas has been waiting for this for quite some time. I think Nintendo was a little bit premature in announcing it because it was a couple of years ago at this point that it was announced, but there were so many people that were wondering where a third Bayonetta might be after the first two were not necessarily sales successes, but they were certainly well-respected games, and people wanted to know what was happening with it. Nintendo announced that there was a third one in development. It's just taken a while for it to get together. And Platinum Games does tend to take its time to do things right. This is obviously a game they didn't want to cut corners with, so they've made sure they've refined it as far as possible. The good news is it is now only a couple of weeks out from release, and preview embargo has lifted. The critics have been playing it. I can't be too specific in what I'm talking about here because the embargo restrictions on preview were quite extensive. I haven't even recorded my own video for it because I wasn't confident that I was going to record the right things. So I'm actually using Nintendo's footage, and I'm not going to spoil anything in this game. I wouldn't want to anyway, even if there wasn't those embargo restrictions there. I would much rather, people enjoy this thing on their own terms without having me disrupt it for them. So it is going to be a very general in tone video, but I wanted to talk about what it is I like about Bayonetta, I guess. That's probably the best way to go about this one. And the thing is, I'm not very good at these games. I admire them, but this is not my kind of video game usually. I really enjoy Devil May Cry in an abstract sense. I like watching people play it. I like seeing gameplay videos. I like the character. I have liked Devil May Cry since the first game. I have them all. I buy them all. And I just never end up playing them because I'm just not very good at them. I can't wrap my head around the combo system in a way that allows me to fully enjoy it. That's on me, and it's certainly not a criticism of the games. It's just my lack of ability, I guess, for these kinds of really big action things. And I am the same in the sense with Bayonetta. I do struggle with it. I do struggle to play them, but with Bayonetta, I'm so hooked in with so much else of it, the character, the world building, the story that it tells, and all that stuff, that I do push myself through it. And I do play it on a higher difficulty level, and it takes me a long time to get through these games, but it is worth it for me. It's a little like the Souls games, and I hate to make that comparison to Souls because that is so a cliche at this point, but the Souls games feel rewarding to people even if they're not naturally good at them because there's just so much to them that makes them worthwhile. Bayonetta is much the same. And there are a couple of things about that. Firstly, I think everybody knows that Bayonetta is all about big action. Devil May Cry is big action as well, but Bayonetta really amps it up to another degree entirely with these enormously cinematic cutscenes and moments and key moments that would put a Marvel film to shame for sheer spectacle. And that is certainly the case with this third one. Somehow they've pushed the switch to do everything even bigger than you would have seen in Bayonetta 2. I don't know how. When I've been playing this thing, I've been sitting back and just been absolutely amazed. But whether you're playing it on a handheld or you're playing it docked on TV, there is such spectacle to the key scenes, to the major moments, the major battles, the bosses, the big cut scene at the start of the game to set things up. Everything about this is just so huge. You do see the weaknesses in the engine when you're not in those battles and you're not in those major cutscenes. So, for example, when you're in the more open areas and traveling, there is quite a degree of pop-up, which I haven't seen for quite some time, actually. Back when you used to play PlayStation 2 and GameCube games, if the world was a little bit more open, you'd have things popping up right in front of you. And I haven't seen it to that extent until playing Bayonetta 3, but you do see that. But it doesn't really matter because those are the quiet moments and they're really just transitory. Like, who plays a Bayonetta game for the exploration? Who plays a Bayonetta game for the platforming bits that they throw in there? You're playing Bayonetta to get from one combat scene to the next. And when you're in those combat scenes, you don't notice the weaknesses of this engine. It is smooth, it is silky, it is big. They can pull the camera back and you can look very small on the screen because you're fighting something so huge. You have these big summons that you can do, which give you monsters to control. And again, without giving it away too much of all this stuff, because I don't know what I can, it has scale, it has spectacle, and the engine handles it beautifully. The other thing, of course, that people know about Bayonetta and people love about Bayonetta is the character. And Bayonetta's done very well here. There was always the risk when you get to a third game in a series that the developers, the writers, in an effort to try to give people that are fans of these characters more of that character, they start to amp it up to the point that it becomes a caricature almost, and you stop enjoying the characters so much. There are so many games where the third game in the series is the weakest, largely because the characterization has started to lose its magic. I felt that with Tomb Raider, for example. The rebooted Tomb Raider, the original one, was great. They did an awesome job with Lara Croft. By the time they got to the third one, I just wasn't invested in the character anymore because they ran out of things to say about her. But this Bayonetta is excellent. I do wonder if it will create the same discussions that the previous Bayonetta games have done. And I don't want to spend this video spending too much on it because I think it is a pretty nonsense discussion. But people do talk about whether, or people have talked about whether the sexualization that is in the game is appropriate, whether it is, empowerment or it is objectification. There is that debate. That debate happened with the previous two. That debate is within this game again. Bayonetta is a very sexualized character still, but and whatever side you fell on previously, you're going to fall on with this one. If you thought it was objectification, you will continue to think it's objectification. If you see Bayonetta as a very strong, empowered character with agency within her character, which is my perspective, then you are going to continue to see that with this one. She's really well written. She's witty, she's smart, she's sharp. She's got that great sense of confidence about her, complete confidence in what she's doing. And she's just a really good power fantasy character. In fact, she's almost a unique one still in this industry. And while the video game industry has been very good at bringing in many more female character leads into power fantasies like Horizon and whatnot, we still don't have too many in which there is that mix of a very sexy character and then also the power fantasy in which that sexuality is not objectification, it's more empowerment. And Bayonetta is quite unique in that way, and it's good to see that they've kept that. They haven't tried to change it or redefine it. They would know that they're going to get some criticism for it, but they've resisted the urge to try and fix it. Not that it needs fixing, but there is that push in the industry, as we all know, to homogenize everything and make sure that nobody's ever offended by any game that gets put out. The fact that Bayonetta is willing to continue to do what it was criticized for before, I do find to be quite admirable. And otherwise, I don't have too much else to say about this game. The thing that is going to define it, I guess, is whether you like the previous Bayonettas. If you did, then you're going to love this one. If you didn't, if the series, for whatever reason, whether it was the character, the story, the action, the combat system, the way it handles exploration or world building, whatever, if you had anything about the previous Bayonettas that put you off that put you off those games in the past, then you're not going to like this one either, because it doesn't break the mold. It's not about that. And I think it's quite a brave effort, and good on Nintendo for publishing it. I mean, if you think about it, the previous two games were not hugely successful financially, and yet here is Nintendo and Platinum willing to make another one like it for the people that liked those previous ones. Surely they're aware that it's going to do the same thing that the previous games did, but they backed it anyway. So that's going to be the defining conversation about this game, I think. That's my guess. Otherwise, you'll just have to wait for reviews in a couple of weeks to see how it all pans out. Anyway, if you're looking forward to Bayonetta, do let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think about the footage that you've seen. And otherwise, I can't answer any more, so don't ask me questions just yet. Just wait for my review in a couple of weeks where I'll be a little bit more in depth and a little bit more specific about my thoughts about this game. If you enjoyed this video and you want to support what we do here at digitallydownloaded.net, both on the YouTube channel and our website, then please do back us on Patreon. You can do so for just $1 a month. or more if you're feeling generous. And in exchange, not only do you support the website and the channel, but you also get a 56-page magazine each month, which goes in depth with Japanese art and culture. So if you like Bayonetta, you're probably going to find something of interest in that magazine. Otherwise, if you have enjoyed this video and you're new here, welcome. Please do hit that like and subscribe button. That way you won't miss any of the others, and we will see you at the next video.